Aretha Franklin. She used to bring her purse
Yes,
to
to
the stage. And let me say this, that, Sister, I
Rhonda.
am now retired early.
Yes, right.
I got on the Underground Railroad, and I got out of academia, honey.
So we've had time to catch up. So we're gonna,
Yes.
we're good friends. We're just gonna try to get through this.
Right. We're
And
gonna
have a
be
really good
serious
conversation.
and professional.
Yes, we are. And so I am so honored to be in conversation with you for this amazing book. Do you guys has anybody read it yet? Or it is absolutely amazing. And so what my first question, Honore, because we've talked extensively about like your process and what was going on in your life while you were writing this book.
Okay.
And so the title, Misbehaving at the Crossroads, is so evocative, right? What does misbehaving mean to you in the context of Black womanhood, resistance, and truth-telling?
Oh, that's real good. No, I mean, that's deep. So for me, the crossroads, I talk about the cultural significance of the crossroads, but specifically for me, the way that I'm referring to it is the intersectional identity of Black women. We are not only Black, we are not only woman, we are both. And you can't really separate that. And so one of the things that I've been really kind of annoyed about now in this time of upheaval is that there are a lot of white women who want to just say, well, this is happening because, of women, and this is happening, and I'm like, but this has been a decades long. If you go all the way back to your sorority sister, Ida B. Wells Barnett, this has been a century-long complaint that no one really takes into account our race.
Yes.
So the crossroads indicates intersectionality, but also I'm a Black Southerner, and so a lot of times when you hear that term, the crossroads, it means you're at a place of trouble. And when I started writing this book, I was very much in a very fraught place, but also in a very wonderful place, and so it was really weird. I had just been picked for the Oprah Book Club, and so I had all of this attention, but it was it was like the second year of the pandemic. You and Crystal, hey Crystal, we were, y'all saw me in DC, and I was having panic attacks, and there was all this anxiety because I had, despite being vaccinated, I had COVID, and I was having long COVID. So it was really weird to be experiencing all of this, like, global success.
Yes.
I mean, I was later nominated for a literary prize in France. There was all of this going on, but I just didn't know how to handle it because of this still really fraught relationship that I had with my mom.
Yeah.
So there was all of that. So that was the crossroads. The misbehaving is really about the fact that there are these boxes that people want to put Black women in.
Yes.
And they want so much from us. And they want our anger when our anger is useful.
Mm-hmm.
But then after we're used, they want us to go, the temple is run by the man, but the women keep the temple, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's all of this where they want our love, our care, our money, our, all of this. if you are a middle-class black woman and up, somebody in your family is asking you for money.
Well, I heard where you said that the world wants black women's care, but not our liberation.
No.
Yeah.
Because if we're liberated, then we might say, I ain't got it.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have it. I don't have your time. Like, I remember when my mother was declining, and there were people in the family like, you're the matriarch now. And I'm like, oh, hey, Victoria. And I was like, no,
Yeah.
no. Because I helped to raise kids who do not acknowledge that I helped to raise them.
Yeah.
Right? And so my thing is, great, I'm footloose and fancy free, and don't be coming up talking about, can I hold $1,500? How you holding 50? That's a lot of money, right? So, I mean, I digress, but my mind would just be blown. Like, that's a lot of money,
But
you know?
people, you know.
Right, and so the thing is that I started thinking about that. And then I know, you know, you've got other questions, but just let me say that it was also about when Mama was declining, and I started picking up on all of this conservatism in middle class and upper middle class black communities that I moved in.
Mm-hmm.
And because I'm an artist, when you're an artist, you know, you're kind of in a bubble, you know, because like I used to tell my students, if you don't like queer people and you're an artist, you're not gonna have any friends. So, you know, you could be as homophobic as you wanna be, but you go to the AWP conference and you're gonna see, you know, people who identify as cis men in dresses.
Mm-hmm.
People who identify as trans women in dresses. And you gotta kick it. And so if you got problems with that, you need to learn how to deal with it because it's your problem. It's
Right.
not theirs.
It's not theirs. Yeah.
Right? And so to come out of that bubble, because, you know, most of my friends are either artists or intellectuals, like you, like Crystal, like Dr. Raymond, and to move out of that and then to go into these conservative kind of communities from people that I went to college with and stuff, and they would just casually be homophobic. Yeah. And I would be like, you know you can't say that kind of stuff in public. And they were like, da-da-da-da. And then to know, I'm like, brother, I know you sleeping with men.
Oh, my goodness.
You ain't fooling me. You know, so there's all of that. And so to understand that I am misbehaving because I'm a different kind of black woman. But when I was younger, I thought I was the only person like this. But now I meet other misbehaving black women, and we're tired.
I think
Hey!
as I was reading the book, I know I told you it's set up like a conversation. You know, you have like little banter on the side and things of that nature. But let's go back to the inspiration. You said it was inspired in part by Alice Walker's In Search of Our Mother's Gardens.
Yes.
And so I want to know how you leaned into that book as it relates to telling the story, and also how did it shape your vision for the essays and writings?
So it's really funny because initially the book was just supposed to be a loose gathering of occasional essays on black feminism. And I've talked about this before. It really was like a dry idea. And I didn't necessarily know where I was going, and I had a few essays that I'd published before, and some of those are in the book. The vast majority of the pieces in the book are new, okay? There's a few older poems, maybe like 3 or 4 older poems, but most of what's in the book is brand new and was written between late 2023 and mid 2024. So
Yes.
this is a
And you can tell.
really like quick book, and I don't usually do that, right? But what happened was when I took over Mama's care, there was just a lot that I was going through rapidly. Like sometimes I'm working on something emotionally, and I'm working, and it just nothing clicks. And then in weeks, something will change. And so when I was thinking about Alice Walker's In Search of Our Mother's Garden, I just was going to have like 1 or 2 essays. Then Mama died, and Mama and Miss Alice were friends, okay? Mama taught Alice Walker, and Mama was actually responsible for Alice Walker first going to Spelman before she left Spelman, and I think it was Sarah Lawrence she went to. And so, but they kept in touch off and on through the years. There was one time where Miss Alice, sneaked into the hospital and to see Mama, even though Mama and I were estranged, but I arranged for it. The late Valerie Boyd, I don't know if you all know her. She was Zora Neale Hurston's, I love book people. She was Zora Neale Hurston's biographer. Valerie was also Miss Alice's biographer, and so she arranged for Miss Alice to come into the hospital, right? But I still wasn't in touch with Miss Alice. Then Love Songs came out, and this was when it was still Twitter, okay? I left 18,000 followers on Twitter. I mean, that was a lot for me, right? And they were all sort of gathered after Love Songs. I had like 4,000 followers, and then within like a day, I had 7,000 followers and all that. Somebody tagged me, and Alice Walker had written a review on her blog of Love Songs. I nearly peed my pants. I was like, what is happening, And the thing is because you've read Love Songs, right? I have like these gestures towards the color purple all through it, right? So through Valerie, again, she gave me Miss Alice's email, and we started sort of every once in a while, because I try not to be like, dehydrated when it comes to like famous people. I just don't, I don't think that's a good look, right? So I would write her, and everything. And then Mama died. And I wrote her, and she wrote me back. I quote from that letter at the beginning of the book, and she sent sunflowers. And one of the things about it is when Mama was dying, and I can't really go into it for legal reasons, right? But there was this tug of war, with members of the family. And it just seemed like when she sent those flowers, it was a sign. You know what I mean? Like, and I had known her work. There's a difference between knowing the work of someone and then knowing them as a person, right? So I had known her work. And then Miss Oprah invited me to the premiere of The Color Purple. And I really did not want to go. because I have social anxiety, as you know. My very close friends know I have social anxiety. And I don't like crowds. And you know, I'm not in Hollywood, so I was just like, but I was like, this is gonna be rude if this
You have to go.
lady
Yes.
invites me.
Yes.
Like I could hear Mama saying, are you gonna, like, I raised you better than this. So I took a friend's daughter with me. We went out there. It was a whirlwind. We got there in the afternoon. The premiere ended at like midnight, and we were back on the plane.
Yes.
Like I was exhausted. But when I was there, I kept looking. I said, you know, I'm only here for one person. I'm here for Alice Walker, because, you know, Miss Oprah was doing her thing, you know, and you always have to be aware that you aren't the only person in a very famous person's life.
Yes.
Okay? So she was doing her thing, and I was, you know, respectful of that, but I just kept like, where is Alice Walker? And I was bereft. Rachel Harper, the daughter of the great poet Michael S. Harper, bumps into me, and she says, Honoré, what are you doing here? And I was like, girl, I'm looking for Miss Alice. Rachel is like very close friends with Rebecca Walker. She said, let me find him. So we're looking. I see Miss Alice is like on like those windows. I take them shoes off and I start running. Miss Alice! Miss Alice! And you'll see the picture, like you can scroll down and she's got her, you know, arms held out, and and it was just beautiful. And I was saying to her, I said, you know, I'm writing this book, and you know, In Search of Our Mother's Gardens was so important to me. And I said to her, I said, you know, you didn't just write a book. You impacted American culture. You founded womanism, right? Which is black feminism. So we all need to stop saying, I'm a womanist, but I'm not a black,
and
I'm
you
not
talk
a feminist.
about that in detail.
Yeah, I'm just like,
in
why are people saying this?
You talk about that in detail in the book, and you really get on us for that. That's early in the book.
That's very early in the book, because I have had young sisters fight me online. It's not the same, and I said to him, I can't curse because this is being recorded.
Curse, Honoré. I'm giving you the church
I said,
finger.
girl, you know, if you really like penis, it's okay. I too like penis. I really like penis. Okay? You can be a feminist and really love penis.
Right.
You know? But there's this attitude that you like. But I also really think, I'm serious about this, that aside from the fact that people still can't let patriarchy go, okay? And I also say to people, because we're all grown here, there are no children here, you know, what you do in your bedroom, and then when your feet hit the ground, I too am a power bottom, okay? But as soon as my feet hit the ground, that's a whole nother story, you know?
I'm gonna move you on.
No, but what I'm saying is I think that people feel like if you're a feminist, like I'm teasing and I'm being naughty here, but people feel like if you're a feminist, that means you can't have sex a particular way. That means you can't serve your man. That means, you know, there's all of these. But people always negotiate what the roles are.
So y'all are gonna have to get the book to read that section, because I'm not gonna let her give any more away on that.
Yeah, she's like really, she's so uncomfortable.
I'm not uncomfortable. I'm trying to keep you.
Right,
Church
but no,
finger.
but I think that that's the whole thing about
Yes.
womanism, is that people have this. But I also do think, and I need to say this, that there are some people that don't like the fact that feminism embraces queer people.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's why they don't want to be feminists.
Yes.
And that, to me, we are, and I need to say this, we are excluding a very important group in our community. And if our queer, trans, non-binary kindred are not free, we can't be free. You cannot predicate your freedom on someone else's oppression.
Yes.
So-
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I know, because you're like, Ani will get naughty. I will. I'll get
Listen,
naughty.
yes. There's no kids.
Because
out
we're
there.
grown. We're all grown. Aren't we grown?
I'm trying to
Yeah,
keep her
we're
on
grown.
track because we have these
Right.
conversations,
You
so.
have all of these questions.
Miss Honore.
Ma'am. And Jamise is a mom, so that comes out, right?
So, two things. You chose to open the book, and I'm really going to keep us on track here because we can go
Yes.
real off.
Right.
But you chose to open the book
And we do
with
have government workers here, so I'm trying not to get anyone in trouble, okay? Yes. Yes. I know.
So, you opened the book with January 6th,
Yes.
and that is a specific choice
Yes.
of opening the book with January 6th. But then you immediately go into, after that essay, you go into, I forget the next, I don't want to open my book, but you go into talking about,
Our fathers who rewrote our mothers.
yes, brilliant. And so I just want to know why you chose to open the book with January 6th.
So I think that, sometimes when you are writing a book, you don't understand that other people are in your head. They're not in your head, so they don't really know what your motivation is. But for me, January 6th was the quintessential demonstration of the failure of white supremacist patriarchy in this country, okay? So what we had a bunch of disgruntled white men who attacked the Capitol. And there are always these issues of white men's violence in this country when things don't go their way, okay? And, I'm from the Deep South, and so I know the history of how rich, powerful white men would manipulate poor white men into racial violence to distract them from the fact that their power was being taken away by rich, powerful white men. So when I was looking at this, I was not only looking at it from the point of view of, oh, these white men are breaking food, okay? I was looking at it from the point of view of a historical trajectory. I was watching this unfold in real time.
Yes.
It's already disturbing enough when you see the recordings, but I was watching it in real time. So, it seemed people were mad, da-da-da. Oh, okay, people get mad, da-da-da. Next thing you know, they're walking,
Yes.
they're marching down. Next thing you know, they have knocked down the barriers. Next thing you know, and all of a sudden I said, oh my God, this is how lynch mobs. Oh my God. And very little surprises me because I am a student of history. This was, if somebody had told me,
Yeah.
it was shocking.
We talked that day.
We
Remember?
did
Because
talk that day.
I had a conversation that evening with Eddie Glaude. It just happened to be on that day.
And we did talk that day. We love Eddie. We did talk that day. We did talk that day, I remember. And so I was thinking about this because I was thinking about the way that white men feel entitled to power. And for many black people, and I've seen this in some of my lives, they'll come up, white folks just naturally low down and da-da-da. And I'm like, no, we're not doing that. Because no one is naturally low down. And no one's naturally good. Everybody has something in them that can go bad. This is why we teach children impulse control, how to manage their big feelings, all of that. Everybody, black people, we feel, and the way that I know that black people have something within them that can go wrong is that I see the way that they treat queer and trans people. Okay? And the way that they tell them God doesn't love you. Okay? And so I was looking at this and I was like, this is what happens when power goes awry. And I was terrified because I was like, is there going to be a war breaking out?
Yeah.
And I'm a black woman, and that was sort of the moment. That was before I had decided to write these essays. That was the moment that I began to think about how power had been arranged against people like me, okay? And there's a line at the, not to give away whatever, but there's a line at the end of that essay that says, history was stalking me, but at least I knew its face.
Yes.
And so then that's when I began to go into how not only race was invented, right? And of course I'm condensing all kinds of stuff. And that's why when you see the more colloquial moments, it's because I want people to get the history without glazing over.
Oh, you give a definite history lesson. I mean, it goes very deep, but it's massaged. I think the thing when people say it's a genre bending book. It's not just nonfiction.
No, it's poetry.
It's poetry, it's history, it's
memoir.
memoir.
History, and it's lyrical, because
Yes.
For me, if you have the language, I always tell people, I don't compare myself to Toni Morrison. Toni Morrison was a genius, and we were blessed to be walking the same earth as her. But she talked about people will follow you if the language is compelling, right? So there is a reason that I use language a particular way, so people will follow very difficult moments. And then there are moments in the book where I speak to, and I always write for black women. I want everyone to read my work, but my audience is black women, right? And so where I will say, I will address black women to sort of let them know, okay, I know you're having a hard time, or I know you're thinking, dang, or, whatever.
And you say that in the book. Come on, let me hold your hand. Come on over here. Did you say you
right,
you're
because
talking?
there has to be, but the other reason I do that is I'm not just writing, for black women my age. I always say this, I want better for my baby sisters. I want my babies, because my baby sisters are struggling with a new reality, right? But they are angry. And it's good anger. They're like, no, wait a minute. Because of the election, because we all thought, them AKAs gonna be insufferable. You know, that's what we all thought. These AKA, woo, they about to be
Listen, I
off
didn't
the
say it.
chain. You know, I see you, right? Oh my God, you know, right? And so we all thought the silk press was gonna be in the White House, right? And then it wasn't, and I'm being very careful here. And it's really funny too. I mean, I know this is a big coincidence, but it's really funny to me that I'm number 92 on the Oprah Book Club, and I'm part of the 92%.
That's right.
That is hilarious to me, right? But that's what, you know, these young black women thought, okay, we're finally going to have power.
Yeah.
And don't we deserve it, right? We got out there and we got the vote out and we fried chicken and we did this, that, and the other. And it wasn't, and this is the thing, I see the sisters online trying to say, black people voted 92%. No.
No.
Black men voted 78%. That's 22%. They betrayed us.
Yeah.
They betrayed us. And how many times have you seen sisters putting their bodies on the line out
Yeah.
there? You know, and they're angry.
Yes.
So this is a book for them.
Yes, for sure.
I see you looking at your watch.
Oh, well, because we want to allow time for questions.
Okay.
But I want to ask. I told you I was going to only get to ask.
I
three
know.
questions. Did tell
I
you?
know.
I told you that. We're not going to go too much into it because I don't want to give anything away, and I don't want it to be. I don't want to turn the conversation
Okay.
that much. But writing about family
Mm-hmm.
is always, especially your mom, your mother, and sisters, can be tender and risky. And so how did you balance, you know, telling the truth, your personal truth, with the responsibility of protecting the people that you love?
Well, I think that one of the things that I really insisted upon was having that essay by Mama in the book, okay? It's not simply just because it was her essay, it was because I published that essay as the editor of an all-black women's issue of a small journal. So I helped her because I wanted, you know, Mama put all her energy into Daddy's work. She was actually my father was, as you know, a well-known Black Arts Movement poet. She was a much better writer than he was. But she gave everything to him, and she wanted to be a writer. So this is really as much her book as it is mine. It's always funny when I'm talking to people, and I'll say, Mama used to say blah, 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 blah. Mama had 1 million of them. Honore, if you can't be good at it, right? You know, different things like that. But I wanted for people to see I'm always dealing with balancing conflict. Does that make sense? Right? I'm strong, I'm vulnerable, okay? I've had pain, I have joy now. You know, as I said in that interview that you talked about, that you saw, every day ain't zippity-doo-dah, everything going my way. But I have peace literally beyond understanding. I can't understand how I have this peace. And I'm very grateful for it. And so when I was thinking about Mama, I wanted people to understand what she had gone through so that when we descended into the very difficult portions of me being an intimate, childhood intimate abuse survivor, and that she and I had that tug of war because I thought for so long she really had remembered, and then when I realized that she had been struggling with substance abuse. She had been addicted to Valium. Then I had to, and so she really hadn't remembered, you know, because she was taking that Valium trying to deal with Daddy. And, you know, as I've said to people, and I'm being very careful here, the things that we are experiencing now, constant, you know, upheaval, I went through that in my childhood. Daddy was like that. You didn't know. One day from the next. One day, he was loving you, and he was handing you $50 in the 70s, which is a lot of money to buy books. And then the next day, he's screaming at you. He's calling you fat and ugly, and you just don't know. And there was also really the issue of color and class that people had told my mother that she was ugly because she was dark brown skin. She had full African features, and so this keen featured black man from the black bourgeoisie, you know, so there was all this, you know, there was she too was an abuse survivor. I was afraid because I didn't want people, you know, in black communities, you don't talk bad about your mom. You can't do that. But I wanted people to understand how much I loved her and that I understood her struggle. Because if it hadn't been what she had accomplished, I wouldn't have been able to leave certain relationships. I too had been abused, but because Mama had given me everything, she had given her children everything, I was able to leave those relationships and not feel less than. So it was, and let me tell you something else, privately, so many sisters, and I would never, you know, identify them. Before I finished the book, people would say, I was estranged from my mama too. I was, you know, and I know there are people who have struggled with that, and I felt like I had, and I know it sounds like country, but I felt like I had a testimony. And I felt like people needed that testimony. And if everybody is pretending, then how is, thank you, baby, how are any of us going to be able to survive if we're all lying? Yeah. You know? And so, and I wanted people to know my mama was smarter than my daddy. My mama spoke fluent French. You know, my mama edited his book. My daddy's first book with Dudley Randall Broadside, my daddy's first book, she typed that book up behind his back and sent it to Dudley Randall. He wouldn't have had a career without her. Yeah. But whenever we would go around, folks, they were always treating her like country come to town, you know. And I wanted people to know the extraordinary woman that she was and that she made me an extraordinary woman. And not only that, all the people she taught at Talladega College, you know, who continually come up to me, the letters of recommendation that she wrote, the training, you know, all of that. But it was scary. This is my most terrifying book. Love Songs is fiction. Yeah. There are no, you know, people always think, oh, this must be your family. No.
Yeah, it's fiction.
No, we done had that good kind of credit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? No, this is the companion piece to Love Songs.
Yes, and that's, yes.
Yeah, you know?
Yeah.
You were about to ask that.
No, they're saying question time.
Oh, okay.
First, let's give it
time
up
for
for Honoré. Come on, Jeff first.
Thank y'all for being here. I appreciate you.
And give it up for Jamise Harper as well. Honoré, thank you for this book. Thank you for, even though you're sharing your story and bearing your soul, you've also seen us as women in this book. The intersectionality of who we are and how we show up in spaces and behind masks and so many different things. So I'm excited for so many people around the globe, not just here, to read this book and to see themselves on the pages.
I love you,
So I'm
my
so grateful for
sister.
you. I'm grateful
You
for you.
have been so
Don't do it,
supportive.
Honoré. I got 2 lashes. 2 lashes. 2 lashes. I'm so grateful.
I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for the cultural activism that you and your partner, you know, profess for us. You bless us.
Yes, absolutely.
Don't do
Really
it.
do.
Thank you. Thank you. So we're going to open it up for questions. I don't have my sneakers on. I usually have sneakers on, but I wore clogs for
Ooh,
Honoré.
those are cute. You got little feet too.
Oh, no, we're not going to say the size on the camera, but I don't know about
okay.
that. But I do want to open it up for questions, and I have Ryan, who's the director of, the producer here at the library, to have the mic on that side, and I'll have the mic on this side. So we'll open up for about 3 questions. Just a quick housekeeping note, your books have all been autographed, but we will make space if you want to take a picture with the amazing Honoré. Just have your cell phones ready and hand it to me, and I'll take the picture for you. So as you know, we'll line up outside, but we'll open up for questions. Ryan, anybody questions? I see one on this side, and I'll come on this side.
Raymond, you gonna ask a question?
He told me he had a question.
Raymond all dressed up.
So I'll do this question on this side.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So I have a question about, and in the introduction you mentioned about your current retirement. So what kind of freedom do you have now to do, what's your freedom in terms of your future works, and how else are you going to continue to misbehave?
Raymond, we don't have time to answer that last part. We don't have enough hours.
So, I will say that it is. I will say that it used to be really scary trying to be honest, and then, you know, teaching at University of Oklahoma, and that is actually also part of why I decided to retire, Dr. Raymond, because I was like, I really take no prisoners in this book. Yes. I really take no prisoners in this book. And I was like, somebody gonna say something to the Board of Regents. We have academic freedom, supposedly, but then they've been eroding that, right? In academia, we see, you know, what's going on. And again, I'm gonna be careful here. So I think the freedom, like, I really didn't know how tired I was until I decided to retire. Like, I have been working 2 full-time jobs ever since Love Songs. Really before Love Songs, but the thing is, when you're writing poetry, you can get in where you fit in. Prose takes a real concerted effort. But then after Love Songs, not only was there a lot more attention, but people wanted me to blurb, people wanted me to review, people want me to come, you know what I'm talking about, Sister Victoria, you know, and you're just like, you know, and at first you're like, oh, this is really exciting. Oh, because I've never been popular, right? You know, how people really like me, you know, and people all in your DMs and the this, that, and the third. And then all of a sudden you like, leave me alone, you know. So there was that, and not only was there the blurbing, but then there are people who completely ignored you, who then want you to write external reviews for tenure. And there aren't but this many black women in creative writing with full professor. There may be 7 of us, okay. And so there's all of that. So there's that. I think the other thing about the misbehaving and not trying to make Jamise blush is I used to be very coy about things like sexuality and now I'm like, I'm 58. Everybody knows I'm not a virgin. You know what I mean? Like, everybody knows I've had sex with men and one woman. So, you know, that was in my salad days. So, you know, everybody knows this. So why? And I realized that's patriarchy. That you are getting, you know, old and still gotta pretend that you're not having sex or you don't enjoy sex or, you know, all of that. And so, yeah, I've really been able, I mean, whether I'm celibate or not, I've really been able to embrace, you know, my sexuality. If not now, then when? You know? So that's my misbehavior. I think this sister was next, and then we're...
Hello.
Hey.
Hi. So absolutely loved love songs, and I'm so excited to read your newest work.
Thank you so much.
And after hearing you speak today, I do have a question about your view of the direction of the community of Black women. With all these unprecedented events happening, Black women becoming the most educated group of women in the country, 92 percenters, what direction do you see Black women moving towards?
Oh, wow. Well, that's a political question. So let me try to go into my wise woman, you know, lineage of root worker, you know, answer. I think that one of the biggest things that's bothering me is I'm seeing all of this about men are falling behind and they're this, that, and the other. I know that Black men are having a hard time. I know that, and that, you know, but I think with Black men, their hard time is when they leave the house, okay? Our hard time is in the house, in the churches, in, you know, all of this. If I hear one more insert expletive compound now online, y'all can figure out what that means, talking about submit. I'm like, don't bring me into your kink, okay? That's your kink. That is not the way equality is supposed to go. So as I was talking, you know, earlier, I think young women are tired. But I also think that we need to be very careful about looking at I'm not a young woman, young women, because you all are, you know, our future, right? Need to be very careful about looking at your success as taking something away from Black men, okay? They can work just like we can, okay? I typed up papers for people back in college. Ain't nobody typed up papers for me unless it was my mama, okay? So I do think that we need to be very careful about, you know, looking at whatever we have, we should feel guilty about it or whatever. What I also feel like is we need to understand, and I'm saying this to the cisgender heterosexual sisters, we need to understand that feminism is a gift to our heterosexual relationships. There is a lot of pressure placed upon heterosexual Black men to lead, to protect, to provide. when this culture does not have opportunities for that, okay? So I think that that's what we need to be thinking about is how can we look at equality as not a fight, but a beautiful exchange that will help our brothers, if you're concerned about our brothers, that will help our brothers and allow them to move forward. Because this patriarchy thing isn't helping black men, okay? And this whole submit and the this, that, and the other, when they ain't got money for a bus pass, it's not helping them, okay? We need to allow them to understand that their gifts can be emotional. Their gifts can be vulnerability. But we also need to know that they can't give those gifts if we keep throwing the Bible at them. It's a tug of war. So I do think that we're in a space, you know, as an older woman, I can take a man or leave a man. But, you know, cisgender young black women, they want men. And I honor that, you know what I mean? But I think we're in a time of flux, and we're gonna have to figure it out, and that's what the elders like me are for. I don't know if that answered your question. Okay.
Awesome. We have time for one more question, right here. Oh, you haven't.
Crystal gonna jank that microphone.
Well, hello, Honore.
Hey, baby.
What do you want for black women to take away from this book that you don't feel was articulated or grasped well from the love songs or the Age of Phyllis? So
That is an excellent question. There was a lot of pain in love songs, okay? There was a lot of trauma. I make no apologies for that, because I feel like it was historically accurate and people needed to know. Because if you know the history, then you understand why black people remain mad, okay? This anger that we have, and anger sometimes is not the case. It performs like anger, but it's a mourning. It's a grief, okay? Because this is our country. I'm not going to Ghana, okay? Plus the fact their sexism is worse over there than it is here. And you ain't getting no fast food in Ghana or Senegal. And the bugs is bigger. You know, you get all these people, they're like, I'm going to the motherland. I'm like, you gonna be back, okay? Let me tell you what I know, okay? You gonna be back. But I think that, and it wasn't until, Crystal, I finished writing the book, when I was in edits, that I realized there's joy in this book, even as there is sorrow. There is peace. And I think for a lot of people, when they saw Ailey, they, you know, and also, you know, you get a lot of sisters, they wanted a white wedding. They, you know, they were like, ain't they gonna get married? I mean, we're gonna return to Ailey and David. Yeah, we're returning to Ailey. Oh yeah. But through the lens of Coco. Okay, so we're gonna return to them. But I think that that was the thing. People really thought that it was gonna be a wrap up, and Ailey was gonna be all better, and she was gonna be in therapy, and the thing is, that's not realistic. That I wanted to show humanity. You know, and it wasn't truly Ailey's story. It was the story of a people through Ailey. So I think that that's the difference. This is actually my story. You know, so that's what it is.
Before you do that, Jamise, I was talking to the library. We can do this amazing attendee's question, and then we'll do yours, and then we'll wrap it up.
Okay.
Hi.
Hey.
I'm a writer, and I write about my mom, and who is dead. But before she died, I wrote this thing about her, and it was truth, but it wasn't very nice. She was not happy. So how do you tell the truth about your mom, all while seeing her entire humanity, like knowing? Like a lot of our moms, they've been through some stuff, but they weren't always great to us. And we want to find that balance.
Well, I think one of the things, and I hope I'm not saying this wrong, you appear to be a very young person, okay? Oh, okay. I always say good skin for black women is reparations for slavery. So, but I think one of the things that's so funny is one of the reasons I include poems from Red Clay Suede, which is my third book of poetry, is that was a very angry book. And I said some, mean things in poems about my mom. I think that as you grow, particularly when someone is gone, things can change and sometimes they don't. For example, I am far more tender about my mother, and I miss her so much. I do not miss my father. I loved my daddy. I still love my daddy, but I'm glad my daddy is dead. I could not be the woman that I am now if my daddy hadn't died, okay? And there are still times, as much as I loved and still love my daddy, where I'm looking at him like, damn, I also think that my father was, and I'm going to come back, my father was who he was because of patriarchy. There was no space for his pain. There was no space, but sometimes they would argue and he would just burst into tears and we would hear his aching, weeping coming up through the heating vents. And I would wonder what made a grown man cry like that, right? And so I think that also for me, because I don't know you, when you forgive yourself for not being yourself's friend, right? There's some times where I'll be looking in the mirror and looking at my jiggly, because the young women have a lot of body positivity, but I didn't grow up with that, right? So as an older woman, I fight for my body positivity. I'm like, this is the first time I've ever worn my fat arms out. I'm like, I'm going to wear my fat arms out, right? But there are times where I have spoken to myself, look at your belly, look at blah, 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 and I'll stop. This is because I've been in therapy. And I'll say, if somebody spoke that way to one of your close friends, how would you feel? Wouldn't you be angry if somebody talked that way to one of your friends? Aren't you a friend to yourself? Don't talk that way to yourself. But you got to get there. You got to get there. And part of that getting there, and this is the hard part for black women, is being selfish. Everybody can't come along with you. Everybody can't make that journey with you. There are people right now, I'm like, you don't know how to keep your mouth shut. If I'm telling you stuff about my business, see, me and Jamise, I tell Jamise something, it's in the vault. Jamise ain't gonna tell nobody, right? But so there are certain people you just gotta let go. Like if I meet a guy, and I'll tell a guy, you didn't meet me in no Popeyes. I'm a nice lady. And you need to understand, you know how the brothers be coming to, hey girl, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you cannot get me for chicken and biscuit. First of all, I'm a vegetarian, but that's neither here nor there. So anyway, so I think that there are these sort of moments, and what I tell people, and I think this is, sometimes I'll just be talking, but sometimes I think I'm saying something important. So I want people to listen to me, okay? Instead of berating yourself for being selfish, say to yourself, I'm being selfish and cutting these people out so that I can be a better person and bless others. Because if I'm sitting up taking this abuse from someone, and that's what happened with Mama. She did not have space to heal. Someone was always tugging at her. Someone was always taking her money. Someone was always doing these sort of things. I remember she would go and visit her mother, and her mother would say the most horrible things to her. I remember there was this moment I was sitting in Grandma's living room, and Grandma said, I was talking to such and such the other day, and she said, your daughter Trail sure is ugly. I was a little girl, and even I knew that was so mean. And to the day Mama died, she was talking about, why couldn't my mother love me? But because there was this community thing and this Christianity thing, she felt beholden to go and visit someone who would speak to her that way. And so I think that that's what you have to do. You know, there's that old cliche, secure your own oxygen mask before helping others.
Thank you all for coming out, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention that the cover.
It's Elizabeth Catlett.
Yes, and it's on display right now at the National Gallery of Art. Yes, the whole
My
collection.
agent,
And it's called Linked Together.
yes, my agent, and the links incorporated. My agent and I chose that together. She is an Elizabeth Catlett fan.
Yes, so
yes.
check it out.
Thank y'all for being here. I love
Thank
y'all.
you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Y'all.
Thank you, thank you, thank you again.